and welcome to Sporting Jibberish.
I'm Jack Luffman.
Tell you what, it's just thrown me because we're looking at the camera and it's back to front and upside down and left and right. It just throws me every week. I can never get used to it. How are you, Jack?
I'm okay. How are you?
Knackered.
It's been a tough week, isn't it? It's just getting harder and harder.
Every week is just a busy week here.
I noticed that you've just a little minute ago. You've got the little. Always talks about like me and Charlie doing this and that, in swings, out swings. And you just did it naturally in conversation with us.
I did it on purpose in order to
No,
the point.
it wasn't. It was just
every time him and Charlie talk about something, there's some reference to cricket in there, which bores the tears out of me. And then they always throw it in wherever we're going somewhere. Even if we're going down the road, we're going down the road. I can't even do it now. We're going down the road. Oh, we'll take a right turn. And it's always like they're doing bowling actions. So then I just threw that in the conversation just to see how they react.
Good finger position.
They got excited actually. Easily pleased. Right.
Anyway, how are we doing?
Yes, we are on this week. We are heavy on football this week. There's nothing else other than watching paint dry this week, so we decided to have a little look at international football, in particular England going into the 2022 World Cup, which was confirmed this week. We'll have a little look at how Euro Nations affects it and how that gets involved, because I can never work it out. T20 final was a few days ago, so we'll have a little look at the result from that, even though neither of us were particularly interested.
No.
We'll have a look at the action ready for Premiership this weekend, and we'll start with our sporting week. So you had Titans, if I remember correctly.
Correct in game 2 of the Fab Four.
In the most pointless competition ever.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. But anyway, it's bizarre. Well, it was a strange old game, I have to say. It's a strange old game. Started late, so afternoon kick-off or tee-off.
That's going to be a theme of our sporting week, something kicking off late.
Yeah. So we started late, and obviously you know where the light goes. So we were 15 minutes, 20 minutes late. So they reduced the overs, and then Titans just took ages to bowl their overs and doing what they always do and try and rule the game and things like that. Anyway, we ended up getting 154, I think, 153, which, to be fair, was a decent effort. We were fairly chuffed for that, knowing if we get a couple of inroads, we win with a shout. And actually, that's what we were doing. We took some early wickets, then they come back, then we kept going, we fielded really well. Showed a bit of, it was really nice to see us going toe-to-toe with the big boys, so to speak, which was good. And then with, I think it was something like 14 runs to win, 3 wickets left, 18 balls to go, just ended the game. Because Clint came on to bowl, and the umpires were not in control of this at this point, and the captain come into bat and he said, we're not facing those too dark. The umpires then wilted, and then we walked off the pitch.
What do you think? Do you think it was too dark?
No, I don't think it was ideal. I will say that. I don't think it was ideal conditions, but what should have happened is 2 things. One, the umpires are in charge of the game, not Titans, not Wanderers, not me, not Clint, not anybody else. So if they had thought, actually, it's a bit dull, what they then should have done is said to our captain Dave, look, you've got 2 options here. If you insist on bringing Clint on, then we'll walk off. The game will end. Duckworth Lewis comes into play and we lose by 10 runs. Or you can bowl anybody but Dave, but Clint.
So is Clint not a spin bowler?
No, it's quickie.
Oh, okay.
That's what should have happened. That didn't happen, and that's why I then, one of the league organisers there, and that's why I had a lengthy chat with him afterwards. Because if that scenario had been given, whether we thought it was too dark or not, that's irrelevant. The umpires are in charge. But you've got to be given the option, and then ultimately we would have tried to win the game with what we had left. They knew that as well, because in our, what was the 3rd over of their innings, Nav, our other quick bowler, pulled up with a pulled glute for 3 balls. So we'd used 3 balls of somebody else. We only have 5 bowlers anyway on the day, 3 balls of another guy's overs, so that counts as full over, obviously, when it comes to the limit. So they knew that we were fiddling around for another bowler or 2. So it would have probably been Dave himself, or maybe even me for a trim or something like that. So that they knew that, the Titans, so not stupid. So just a disappointing way to end. But having said that, it technically went down as a loss to us. But I was actually really pleased with how he played against a good side.
So
showed a bit of.
You lose on Duckworth Lewis?
Duckworth Lewis, we lost by 10 runs, yeah. So they were ahead of the par score at that point. So bit of a non-event really. and not an event to end. It's disappointing, but hey, here we go again. We've got another game, the third game in the Fab Four, Saturday against Exiles. We are, of the 12 in the squad last week, we are 6 down. Lads have got academy. Well, you've just heard me. You've got that action. We're 6 down from last week's team, and then one of the lads we brought in pulled up injured after last night's training, and another lad is ill with the virus. So we're not as strong, but it gives other people an opportunity. And actually, it's probably a little bit of a kind of free hit for us, really. Because it gives other people opportunity. It's not going to make any difference to us making or not making the knockout stages, which start next week. So
interesting. And likelihood is you get.
We'll play Exiles. So what happens now? It's the top 4 now.
Yeah.
Finishing the top team in the top 4 go straight to the final.
Mm-hmm.
Second waits for the winner of the eliminator, which is 3rd versus 4th, to play the second place in the semi, to play the top of the table.
Well, that'd be good then to just give other people a run out.
Yeah, it'd be all right. Yeah, and actually I'm quite looking forward to it because it'd be good to see other players and so good. Looking forward to another game and away we go.
Beautiful.
How about yourself? No game, no?
Well, for the vets, we didn't have a game. I got drafted into the thirds thinking we didn't have a game for the vets. It was all over the place this week. So I played against, I don't even know what it is, somebody Rovers, Woollyback Rovers, or something daft.
Blackburn? Roy the Rovers.
It could have been, well, they weren't Roy the Rovers, no. They were bottom of the league, and it was really bizarre because they had 4 or 5 really good players, but they're just individuals. So every time one of these players just got the ball, wanted to do a pass to everybody. We didn't play well, didn't really string many passes together, but won 6 or 7-0, I think.
Good effort. Did you score?
No, I played centre back.
Oh dear, what's going on? I think there's a conspiracy theory.
I think there
Scored all the goals last season and not had a sniff.
Yeah. But yeah, it was the bizarre thing when we talked about lateness. We were down at Jebel Ali, which for anybody that is not aware of where Jebel Ali is, where I live, it's about a 40-odd minute drive. So it's the furthest point, I think, from where I am to the outreaches of Dubai.
It's closer to Abu Dhabi, isn't it?
Yeah. So we went all the way down there. They turned up at the 7th pitch, which is probably the same distance from my house to Jebel Ali. So that's another 40-minute drive. Supposed to kick off at 8:45, which is a late kick-off anyway. Kicked off at 9:20. The referee called it short because they just gave up completely and they were throwing injuries in and all sorts. So I got home at 11:30. I was like, yes, love this on a Sunday night.
Sunday. What a way to start your week.
No, we've not been blagging all week. And then last night, just a bit of training because we didn't have a game, then we did have a game, and then we didn't have a game.
So training. You're going to have a build-up of fixtures, aren't you?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I looked the other day, we played 2, some teams have played 6, and then probably as of from last night, some teams may have played 7, so yeah, I don't know. I think with vets, we probably have a little bit more leeway to say that we can't play more than 1 game a week because we are too old.
Too old. Oh, well.
Yes.
There we go. Anyway, onwards and upwards.
Yes, so moving onwards, we decided to have a look. Obviously, England have now officially qualified for the World Cup in Qatar next year, which if we don't get there, we'll never ever make our World Cup.
We are going.
Time. Yeah, so it's only about 40 minutes on the flight.
Yeah. We could probably swim there, couldn't we?
We've got rubber armbands.
Get the budgie smugglers there.
We'll get deported before we even get there. Right, so yeah, England have made the tournament. So what we did is I've actually got up a list of the current England squad.
Okay.
Because obviously the thought process now is that they went into the European Championships, had a really good tournament, and they're actually we've worked out as they're one of the best runs. Yeah, they're unbeaten in open play. Yeah,
they're unbeaten in, I think 16 fixtures.
Yeah.
I think only beaten by penalties in the final, obviously.
But yeah, it makes for interesting reading because initially when we had this conversation, we talked about what this squad would potentially look like and who would be too old. And I think some names that we ran past actually surprised me when I looked at it. So who do you think might be potentially borderline, might not be able to make it for next year?
I'm thinking, if you're just going on age...
Let's start with any of the goalies you think that might be at risk.
No, I don't think so. I think they're okay.
No. Defenders?
I'm just thinking Kyle Walker must be getting towards 30, but over 30.
Yeah.
I know we weren't in this last squad, but something like Trippier, probably the same. I'm just trying... Connor Cody, probably.
Okay. Midfielders?
Hendo.
And then attackers?
Probably. No, I mean, obviously Kane's probably going to be the oldest one, but he won't be. He'll only be 28, 29.
So when we decided to do this, I actually thought there was more
Over 30.
or players of that age, but when we go through it, we look at the recent pick of goalkeepers. We've got Dean Henderson's only 24. Sam Johnson is actually older than Pickford. And then you've got potentially Ramsdale as well from Arsenal that might come into that. Trent's 23, Chilwell 24, Conor Cody's only 28. So still well within the brackets. Reece James 21, Harry Maguire 28, Tyrone Mings 28, Luke Shaw 26, John Stones 27.
So I wouldn't be interested in. I think Mings is completely overrated. If he wasn't left footed, he'd be nowhere near the squad. I don't think.
Trips and Kyle Walker, you're completely right, both 31. Jude Bellingham should come of age at that point. He's 18 at the moment. Phil Foden 21, Grealish 26, Jordan Henderson, another one you shouted out, 31. Mason Mount 22, Phillips 25, Declan Rice only 22, Saka 20, Calvert-Lewin, and we'll talk about him in a second, 24, Kane 28, Rashford 24, Sancho 21, Sterling 26.
Fabregas, the thing that stood out for me the most there is I can't believe that Raheem Sterling's only 26.
Yeah, and it's probably because he broke in the scene at the age of 17.
I'm going to say so he's been around 10 years, hasn't he?
But you're looking at that, and we're talking about potential players that may miss out. There is only potentially 3 that are in that 31 bracket, and even then, at the age of 32, it's not dead and buried.
No, exactly, because all 3 of them are fit.
Yeah,
there's only really Henderson as well who suffers with injuries. The other 2 don't seem to suffer. So what will happen is Trippier will probably be the one that they'll miss out because he's got other right backs in Reece James, Walker, and Trent who are better, and Walker can also play as that right centre half. So probably Trippier will miss out, but anything, it's a long time anyway. But so, it's interesting that.
Yeah, so I think from that group there, that maybe you're looking at the younger pups that are potentially coming through. Smith Rowe might be in with a shout from Arsenal.
Did okay for.
I think he's having an absolute flyer for Arsenal this year.
You would argue that in a similar kind of player to Grealish, he's been better than Grealish.
Curtis Jones from Liverpool, he's playing really well. If he can get some more game time. Harvey Elliott, if he can get back in the fold and get a good run at Liverpool.
Get fit,
so, with regards to the squad, it's actually, I don't think it's really going to change anything different. I think that maybe if I look at the goalkeepers, Sam Johnson might be the one that misses out in the long run because he's not been exposed in much international games, and Ramsdale may come in there. And then everybody else, I would say, pretty much keeps, maybe bar Trippier, which he said. Henderson probably kept around for the likelihood of experience and doing well with Liverpool.
And there's definitely, with him and Kane there, they are the leaders of the pack, you can see that. And you wouldn't take that out of them, would you?
No, but then what we did discuss, which was a slight concern, is the long-term void of when Kane does retire or maybe just gets a little bit past it in potentially 2 years' time. Maybe even a year and a half's time. Nobody knows. I'm sure that's a lyric from a song. The Streets, if I'm correct. Matty Aldridge will pick that up. But is that the absolute void of a traditional number 9 centre forward,
and actually a goal scorer as well. I mean, I think there's some flying around younger, but yet to make them out. Like, I'm thinking Scarlett at Spurs at third up scores bags of goals at every age level, under 23 or whatever it is in the Reserve Premier League. He scored for under 19 England, so I mean he's not going to be nowhere near for the World Cup. But the problem is with those guys, he's got to get some game time and start doing it at Premier League level, or at least get on loan somewhere.
Yeah. Well, you look at that. So you take out Harry Kane from that initial line that we just said there. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who in his right is a decent Premiership striker. That he's not a brilliant one. No. He's steady away. He'll cause problems. He's decent in the air. He'll get on the end of a few things, and he'll score goals when he gets himself fit and getting running when he's not wearing his schoolgirl outfit.
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
Rashford again, so much potential, but not quite hit there. And then you're looking at
not a natural goal scorer.
No, Greenwood is a good goal scorer at United, but ever since the Finland incident with him and Foden, has been kind of left out in the cold.
You wonder if there's a bit more to it than what that, don't you?
And then you're looking around the Premiership then, and you're looking at the likes of Ollie Watkins as another potential, but again, doesn't seem to get a good run where he's consistently scoring.
Yeah.
And then the only other consistent English goal scorer Well, you've got two, haven't you, really, if they get a run of games, is Wilson and Ings. But I think at this point, Ings is dead and buried.
Yeah, I think Wilson is as well.
And Wilson just can't seem to keep fit. So I worry, yes, I think we're going to be in a really strong position. That same squad that went to the Euros is going to be piping hot, ready coming into the World Cup, which is really, really good for us. But aside from that, moving forward, where's our striker going to come from?
Yeah, it is where I agree with you. And I think I said before that actually in the last batch, I know you don't watch them, but the last batch of international fixtures with England, was it 1-1 or 0-0 again home to Bulgaria or wherever it was? And I said, and I was talking to Renell actually about it as well at work, and England looked toothless because their best two players, or the best two in the front third in terms of sharpness, Kane and Sterling, were way off it, and they looked toothless, and that's what would happen if if we didn't have another striker, or once they go, if there's no natural replacement, and I think it is a concern. 100% it's a concern, because I know that nobody's going to shout from the rooftops about the two games this week, albeit the first half against Albania, who incidentally could have still qualified if they'd got even a draw, I think, or at least got to the playoffs. First half an hour, England were class, but largely based around some great play. But Kane looked sharp and into the box, and then San Marino were poor, like bus drivers, but it's 4 goals. So how many did we score? 15. He scored 7 of them.
Yeah, I think he could have had more though if he'd been a bit more ruthless in the Albanian game.
Potentially.
The report said he could have had maybe 4 in the first half.
He had one that he just snapshot, did a good save, 2 good saves from the keeper. So another day, he could have had 6. So while it's all like people getting on social media going, oh, cheap goals, blah, blah, blah. Well, hang a minute. Nobody else is scoring, pal.
No.
And that is a concern, because other than that, I agree with you. I think, because ultimately it's a similar squad to that went to Russia as well in 2018, which is why they're doing so well, because they're beginning to trust each other and get a squad. And
if Southgate's clever, he gets out after this one.
Yeah, because there's a rebuild. Because what Kane could get to another Euros potentially. Because I don't know when the Euros are, because I know it was a year late this year. So are they going to 24?
So another year.
So
we'll keep an eye.
Yeah, good. I don't think it'll change much.
No.
I don't think there'll be much movement in or out, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, so the other question that did spring up is Nations League and what exact impact that actually has. So from the groups now that have finished for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, first places have gone through, so you've got the likes of, was it Serbia that pipped Portugal?
Yeah. What a story that is, by the way. Not only did they get in the last minute, we said earlier, 3 million euros or something.
So the president donated 3 million euros to the team for qualifying for the World Cup. Yeah. The players then turned around and said, if we don't want the money, we'd like to donate it to charity.
Yeah, and they do it to a children's hospital.
Yeah, so awesome stuff from the Serbians on both fronts, winning in Portugal.
3 fronts, that thing and seeing Cristiano Ronaldo cry. I loved it.
As per usual.
Yeah, I loved it.
Sit there sobbing with Bruno, you softie. So we did have a little look. So all the runners-up, so that means there's 10 runners-up have gone through, and then the best 2 Nations League group winners based upon the Nations League's overall ranking system. Okay, so although they play in the little mini leagues, they get ranking according to how many points they get, and then it's the best 2 teams that haven't qualified for the World Cup then go into that playoff group, but obviously it won't be seeded.
No.
So the top 6 teams are seeded, but you said it gets even more complicated because they're broken off into 3 different groups.
Right, okay.
And they play like a semi and a final, and then we end up with 3 further. So the playoffs will split up into 3 playoff pathways, played in 2 semi-finals hosted by 6 best ranked cup runners-up in the group stages, and the final with the home teams to be drawn with an additional 3 teams to qualify. So
there's like 6 semis and 3 finals.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then what we're saying is basically 2 almost fair play places coming from the Nations League, which filters into that.
Because Scotland and Wales had a great week, didn't they? Because they got themselves into playoff and home playoff.
Yes. So Scotland needed the result against Denmark, which was a result because Denmark didn't need anything. So didn't really put up too much of a fight, which then secured them a home leg in the semi-final, which is going to be key. But that's how the Nations League fits in, because I sat there going, I ain't got Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I did. Because imagine that though. Let's say, I don't know how many groups there are, but it could be that, and I'm sure it has happened, that let's say that arguably the top 8 at the Nations League have all already qualified. That means 9 and 10
then going to
qualified and could end up could win the World Cup.
Mathematically, yes.
Come on, you're a mathematician. I saw him doing standard deviation the other day, actually.
Yeah,
I was quietly impressed with you.
Quietly. Right. So, move on. Right, okay, so T20 final was this week. So it was the Aussies versus the All Blacks.
Correct.
That's all All Blacks.
The Black Caps.
Black Caps
for cricket.
New Zealand put on the highest score in a T20 final, which must have secured them the win.
Unfortunately not.
Which makes it really bizarre because Australia made light work of it.
Unbelievable. And it's weird because I wanted New Zealand to win, but I had this sneaky feeling that because since England thrashed Australia in the group stage, it kind of galvanised them. They got
the Germany, the football World Cup,
they galvanised. I think they just closed rank. They got loads of criticism from home, from ex-players and commentators. They just closed rank and fair play to them. But yeah, New Zealand, I thought at Dubai there was only 2 games won batting first in the whole tournament. 174 in a final. I thought 9 and over, just under. In with a share here, boys. Williamson, the captain, played an unbelievable innings. Can't tell you how good that is. High score in a World Cup final. But like you say, actually, on the night that you would say, or I would say, that New Zealand's strength is their bowling, just didn't get it right. No. Poor soddy, a leg spinner, got a bit of the yips in a final, and Australia and even with a bit like seeing Ronaldo cry, what the worst thing was, not so much, I quite like Finch, one or two of the Aussie characters, but seeing Warner get man of the match and swinging it round, made me, I was almost sick of it. Well, I don't know what I was sick of.
I caught a flash on Sky Sports News and I thought Norwich was celebrating the appointment of Dean Smith.
Yeah, he wouldn't survive in Norwich, David Warner, I reckon. But yeah, no, fair play to the Aussies, first ever T20 World Cup win, and they get to defend it on home soil in a year's time.
Yeah, and for you, going to manage to catch a few games, was it as what you expected?
It was good, yeah. I mean, I obviously the first 2 games were a bit of a non-event, really, particularly the first one against West Indies. Even the Aussie game was a bit of a non-event, but because it was against Australia, that sort of pulled it up. But yeah, it was good. I went to Sharjah on some free tickets from David Milan. That was a nice experience, good game. Got offered some tickets for Sunday for the final as well. But the only thing is, and you'll know, I don't know if you've been, but it's just a bit of a pain getting in and out of the place.
Yeah.
Even though I only live 10 minutes from the ground, it's just a bit of a pain. And so I think if the authorities or Dubai Sports Council, the RCC, can just make that a little bit smoother,
more accessible.
Yeah, it's because it's a good stadium. It's just a big bowl. 30,000, I think it holds when it's full. Course, of course, COVID it wasn't full, but no, I enjoyed it. It's good to say you've been to some World Cup fixtures. Just a shame that England didn't bring it home. But onwards and upwards, they've all gone to different. Some are staying here now for the T10. Some have gone home, and then the rest of who are in the Test match squad have made their way to Brisbane. I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say now it just sets up nicely for Ashes.
8th December, the first game. So I am looking forward to that.
Are we 2 or 3 weeks away?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll finish school by then as well.
Yeah, right.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yes. Right, moving on. So this week, the Premiership is back.
Stu just loves it, don't you?
I just hate internationals and I love the Premiership.
So we're not going to the World Cup because Stu hates internationals.
I hate international qualifiers. The World Cup's slightly different. That's a little bit more entertaining. There's no Premiership on. It doesn't interrupt my Premier League. But yeah, Premier League is back, and the first game is actually a bit of an intriguing game.
Yeah, good going that.
Leicester City versus Chelsea, which was that the FA Cup final last?
Correct.
Wasn't it? Yeah, Leicester beat Chelsea
in
the final.
Yeah,
because Chelsea knocked City out in the semis. Mm-hmm. So that game is the first game on Saturday. So Leicester versus Chelsea. Chelsea were hoping to have everybody back fit because I think they were hoping the Carks would be back. Yeah. I don't know what state Werner's in at the moment, but yeah, Chelsea will be looking for 3 points. But having drawn the last game against Burnley, maybe they're having a bit of a slump.
You never know. They like the international break.
Yeah. And then the other games that are the 3 o'clock kickoff for you guys back home is Villa versus Brighton.
Stevie's
first game. Not an easy game. Brighton are a bit of a tricky team.
Could be difficult, more difficult though. Could have been more difficult.
Oh yeah, without a shadow. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how much time he's had with the players because of the international break. If he lost a lot through that break, Burnley at home to Crystal Palace. That's one of them games that you would avoid.
Turn off.
Like the plague. Newcastle versus Brentford, which actually could be an intriguing game. Depending on what Newcastle, how approach it. But again, another first for Eddie Howe. So he'll be back in charge there. And from reports that I've read this week is that Eddie Howe is going to get backed in the January transfer window.
It's interesting. It's an interesting point that we've had that discussion a couple of weeks, but I'm not so sure. But hey.
The only reason I can think of it is that he understands the Premiership. But his aim is just solely.
But from his point of view, he's any excuse they're going to get rid of him, they'll get rid of him. Yeah. Because he's not a big name.
He's on to a loser, I think. Yeah. But at least he might be. If he gets a bit of a roller coaster ride and enjoys it, so be it. Yeah. Norwich Southampton, again, another first. Dean Smith, who was out of a job all of like 3 minutes.
What a bizarre appointment.
Yeah, very strange. And I'm listening to a few Norwich fans, and they were saying that they weren't sure. They're a little bit out on them because Dean Smith had a good reputation at his previous clubs. Obviously done okay with Villa getting them back promoted, but had a good run with other clubs. But yeah, what are they expecting?
Just I said it, I think too. It's just bizarre, that kind of string of events, and it's obviously clearly intent now. They want to stay in the league. They're not happy with, because we did ask that question a few weeks back. They're not happy with being that yo-yo side. So clearly they want to stay in the league, and I think Dean Smith's the man to do it. I'm not so sure, but here we go.
And then the other two games at 3 o'clock are actually a bit of an intriguing games. Watford host Manchester United.
Oh, I love it.
I think Watford could cause them upsets just simply because Watford have got so much pace going forward. Dennis is a quick lad, Sar's a quick lad, and they do attack down that width really, really quickly, which could cause United all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the 2 W's, Wolves against West Ham.
They could say that about us too as well.
Yeah. That was Mark and Lard.
Cookie.
Who's who is the next question.
I'll take the Lard, you are.
And then we move on to the evening game on evening for us, late afternoon for you, is Liverpool versus Arsenal, which traditionally Liverpool have had a lot of joy in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Tend to be because Unai Emery used to play all-out attack against us, leave no back line, so we used to just pace them going forward. So it'd be interesting because I can imagine Mikel Arteta won't want to go down that route. And he's pretty much got his boys back.
Yeah, he's gone well. He's been impressive since the early. Did lose 3 on the bounce.
And like we said before, I really rate Smith Rowe.
Yeah.
He's not got abundance of pace, but has that ability just to create a little bit of space for himself.
He certainly had a good start to the season, put it that way.
Yeah, and then Sunday, again, it seems to be a bit of a tasty weekend for games. If you're a betting man, you would potentially go for a fair few goals galore on this weekend. City host Everton, so I don't know what Rafa Benitez will attempt to do in this game, if he will go with an attack or will he try and hold. I don't think he knows what his best team is, but I think they tend to probably do better against teams like this because they're more set up for a counter.
Yeah, they'll sit back and try to make pace on the break.
And then it's really a test of what has Conte been able to do in the couple of weeks now as taking up a Spurs manager against Leeds, who can't seem to get going.
Poor. Spurs need to win 3 points, nothing less will do. Simple as. Nothing less will do. Sport. I think seeing some footage from some of the social media, he's obviously been working very hard with him. He didn't lose a lot, you see, at the minute, which is, I think, Dartmouth probably where we are, albeit obviously the players he's going to rely a lot on did go, but at least Kane was back Monday night, so he's had a good rest, and Son the same, so fingers crossed that we do the business, because I'm pretty excited about it, because there's no doubt that he's a manager that a lot of clubs would have wanted.
Yeah, I just think for you guys, in order to get halfway back to where you were, you just need to be 20 yards higher up the pitch.
Oh, completely agree.
Having Kane dropping to the halfway line doesn't do any favours. We mentioned this last week, where you then just when you break after that point, you can't get back into the box to get involved.
I think he proved that with England this week, that he can drop deep, but it's dropping deep and it's dropping deep. And that's what beginning this time last year when him and Son were on fire. He wasn't dropping past the halfway line. He was just doing the needful. But I agree. We've got to get further up the pitch. I think he'll do that. He's been working on fitness and all sorts. So come on, Conte.
Yes. Any tips for fantasy football? Because you were having a quick look before the.
I've just gone a bit rogue actually. I see people having these like weird and wonderful teams. So I've gone a bit rogue. So I put Che Adams in up front. instead of King. I've got no money because I've got.
Where to Southampton? Where to Norwich?
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Well, Dean Smith might shut up.
No, Dean Smith's useless. And I've gone with. I've replaced Jack Grealish with, and I can't think who now. Look, do you have a look? No, it doesn't really matter. I've replaced Jack Grealish anyway. He's not doing it for me.
And visitors arrived today.
They have. The Shrek has landed.
I believe we have a picture of Shrek already flat out on the
He
setting.
seems to make himself at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, there he is. So we're gonna fit out tonight, and then we'll be at the golf tomorrow, and then he'll come and watch cricket on Saturday. So yeah, looking forward to spending some time with him. You're going to watch Bella play football?
Yes, she is about to kick off in about now.
Perfect. Well, let's get going. Have a great game, Bella.
Yes.
At the end of the day, Stu.
What do we know?